Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. It's one of my plants we never look at. It's my Coelogyne cristata, and it's a variety Lemoniana. And because of where it lives, it only ever comes out to be watered, and it's getting to the time of year when it's going to need next to none of that. So its frequency of watering is going to go right down. These need to dry off and cool down in winter if you're going to get blooms on them anyway. Now what I've got is huge, big, fat, healthy pseudobulbs of a relatively deep green colour, and other people's have often got shriveled pseudobulbs and they're a yellowy colour, far yellower than that. Now I've got some older leaves going on some of the really old pseudobulbs in there, but most of the new growths that have grown on this year are nice and big and fat with nice green leaves. And this has always led me to believe with this particular type of Coelogyne that there's two forms. You know, like the, oh God, what's it called? Cattleya something or other. And it's got a lowland form and a highland form, or an upland form. And they are quite different. They've got different coloured blooms, they're different sized plants due to their environmental factors. And I got a feeling that this has got a wide distribution and comes from many places. Some of those places are a lot cooler. So I believe there's a form that needs to cool right down in winter and virtually go dry. And the pseudobulbs need to shrivel. Not desiccate, but shrivel down to actually get it to bloom. And then the other form comes from slightly warmer places that doesn't need to get quite so dry, doesn't need to get quite so cool, and will bloom without that shriveling effect. And I think that's what I've got, but I can't be sure, but we'll see. Now, out of the new growths that I've got this year, which are all over the place, there's one that decided to go aerial, which does have something growing up the side of it. Now that is naturally where the next growth would come from. You can track it back if you sort of look. You know, you've got this bulb goes back to there, which is on the side of that bulb, which goes back to there, which is on the side of that bulb. So that may well just be another new growth. It's an odd time of year to be pushing one out, but you know. So I don't know whether I'm going to get blooms on this or not. It's certainly big enough and healthy enough, but it is down to this winter treatment, and it's bordering on dry. There's some dampness in that moss, and the fact that when we did this we actually lined the whole basket with moss, including the base. That moss is borderline dry, but I don't know what's going on in the middle of the pot. You know, when we get down in here, how wet are we? We've got some buried pseudobulbs in there. They often grow like that. It's not too much of a big deal. That's still quite damp in there. But if I don't water it this time and I leave it till next time, the next time is going to be in the middle of winter. So I think it's going to have a trickle, just a trickle. And then that'll probably be it for some considerable time. I really would like to get some blooms on this. I didn't have any at the start of this year. So, you know, the sort of winter into very early springtime this year produced nothing. The year before I had a couple of blooms, but it has been repotted since then. So, yeah, it's going to get cool. I can't get it any cooler. You know, my minimum temperature is for everything in here. No, I'm not mucking about with just one plant. I can't risk putting it outside. It's too dramatic a change, and we're looking at some frost soon. I think that's a bit too cold, especially coming from inside here. But these the cristatas can go down to quite low temperatures. They'll be happy down to 5 degrees C, as long as they're not soaking wet, obviously. But they say with these, to get the best out of them, feed and water them like mad in the spring when all those new growths come out. And then during the summer, when it's warm, stop. And just keep them moist. And then as you go into autumn, restart the feed and the watering to mature the bulbs. That sounds an odd way to go about things. I didn't do that. I mean, this just got watered and fed with all the other cooler growers. It just gets thrown in the pot with the rest of them, quite honestly. But yeah, so caution on the water for me this time round. I would like to try and induce some blooms on this, and it is going to need to dry off a bit. And you know, I think there's some sort of like a process in the plant that, you know, the water goes right down to next to nothing, the pseudobulbs start to shrivel, and the plant sort of thinks I'm going downhill. If I don't produce some blooms and get some seed, I might not make it. Now, I know plants don't think, but they do have trigger mechanisms and hormones that instigate and or withhold processes or put processes on stall. So anyway, we'll try keeping this a bit drier this winter and see if we get some blooms. But I'm going to give it a trickle now, and that'll probably be its last water, unless it really does start shriveling and changing colour and looking like it's dying, in which case I'll help it. But otherwise, I think I'm just going to keep this quite dry this winter, and we'll see how we get on. It's all a game, isn't it? See you next time.